So what's up guys? Welcome to this first episode of Quaranteens. My name is Josh. I am 15 years old from Cebu City and I am also an athlete specifically in the sport basketball and currently a member of the Magis Eagles basketball team in Sacred Heart School at Ateneo de Cebu. So in this platform, I'll mainly focus on sports reviews, top players and athletes, their experiences, and how these sports change in this new normal and how do we adjust on it and more. So without further ado, let's start. In this first episode of mine, I would like that you guys would know more about me. And since I'm mainly going to focus more in sports, I am going to share to you guys my experience of our online basketball training. We all know that this pandemic is a sudden change for all of us, where we went from our normal lives to the situation we are facing right now. I know that a lot are struggling and coping with the situation, but all we need to do is to learn how to adjust into it for us to keep going. To go back, we all know that in sport basketball and other sports, we may make physical contacts in games and practices, but we have these restrictions like mass gatherings are not allowed, and this pandemic also has resulted in the closure of gyms, stadiums, pools, dance and fitness studios and more. Many individuals are therefore not allowed and able to actively participate in the regular individual or group sporting or physical activities outside of their homes. But for us athletes, we need to keep and maintain our bodies in shape. So we adopted in this new setup, which is practicing virtually, or we call it online training. So how do we do it? First of all, we are grateful and thankful enough that even with the crisis we are facing right now, our coaches and the sports administration still have these ideas and have managed this virtual training for us. So how do we do it? For ours, we use this platform or an app that we call Zoom. So for those who doesn't know what this platform is, it's based from my experience and based from my research. Zoom is a cloud-based video communications app that allows you to set up virtual video and audio conferencing webinars, live chats, screen sharing, and other collaborative capabilities. So with the use of the platform, our coaches would set a meeting time or practice time ahead before the practice time starts. Usually, we set it before a day or set it 30 minutes before the practice time starts. Our training is also divided into two parts. First part is the ball practice and second part is for strength and conditioning. Our practice time usually runs within an hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours and at least 45 minutes per part, but there are times it exceeds. Aside from this, our coaches also has these programs like the film viewing in where we review our past games and look into it, finding the parts like the mistakes we do and weaknesses we have, or what parts we need to practice more for us to improve our game and our own individual skills. So it means we do not just practice and improve our physical aspects of our game, but also we try to practice mentally, we try to learn the study of the game of basketball, and doing film viewing is one way of it. We also have this program wherein our coaches will invite guests, specifically guests wherein the field of basketball is involved. These guests are also coaches, players, and athletes, and people who can share their experiences to us as aspiring athletes. With them, they share their own stories to us and gives us ideas on how we can improve more in this field of basketball, but more importantly, they inspire us and gives us advices about the daily aspects of our lives. We all know that we do these things virtually, and we also experience some challenges and difficulties. And mostly, the common one is a network connectivity problem. We can't really avoid this, but we can have these alternative ways wherein we can still continue the task or the given activity that needs to be accomplished. So most common one in our case is having the slow internet connection, but our coaches have found a way for this. The solution they put into this is them giving or sending programs with the drills and exercises ahead of time or usually before the practice time starts. So that if we can face these connectivity issues, it won't be that much of a problem or a cause of hindrance for the practice to be paused, postponed, or stopped. This virtual setup might be different from the actual one or the face-to-face one because in this virtual setup, you only have limited equipments to use. But we all know that we need to learn how to adjust into this and find alternative ways. So during this virtual training wars, we focus more in our own individual skills and aspects of our body because it's the least we can do in this setup. We all know that basketball is a team sport. With it also needs to be practiced as a team. With the situation we are facing right now and in this crisis, it shouldn't be the reason for us to stop training and working hard. We should take this as an opportunity to improve our own individual aspects, not just in basketball, but also in our daily lives. This individual practices of skills is also one of the most important things that we need to improve, so that if we can go back to the usual setup or in which we can already use the gym and courts, this can give a big impact to us as a basketball player. So during these virtual trainings, it's quite different from the actual one because our coaches can just easily notice and correct your mistakes in the actual setup. But in this virtual training, we all know that we can just be seen through the screen and videos. Based from my experience in this virtual world or this online training of ours is that tips I can give for you guys in this online training or this virtual setup is that you should learn how to manage your time and set your priorities wisely. Because we all know that aside from this sport of mine or sport of yours, we still have other activities to do. You should also learn how to manage your time so that you will not miss the practices or you can accomplish the activities you need to do and finish. Knowing also your priorities helps you focus on the things you need to do, but most importantly, knowing how to be disciplined is really important for me because if you are disciplined enough, everything else follows. It's also an essential foundation for any sport because it builds our character. This helps set our mindset to achieve great things. These tips for me is really helpful because it can give a big impact to you as a person because these tips can help you make you feel less stressed and help you manage your time. And finally guys, I'm into my last point in this episode of mine. So how did sports change in this new normal and how are we adjusting with it? As what I've said, in this pandemic or in this new normal, we still have these restrictions and rules to follow. But we adapted to this by adjusting it through virtually. We practice our sports and do our virtual or call it the online training. We don't have much of a choice but to learn to adjust into it so that we can keep going. And finally, that's all for my first episode. I hope I'll still be able to share with you guys more about this topic of mine about sports. To sum this up, sports in this pandemic or in new normal is really new for us, but we need to learn how to adjust and find alternative ways so that we can keep our body fit and healthy, not just in sports but also in our daily lives.
Wow, ganda. Hi there. If you want to know my secret, because honestly, this isn't a just woke up look. Just stay tuned. So, before we start with the magic look, I just want to ask, how are you guys? Kamusta kayo? I hope you're all doing fine right now. I hope you're all well. And now, as of the moment, as you know that you can see it, I am feeling so excited. I'm feeling so happy. And I hope you are too. And even though you're feeling sad as of the moment, it is okay because at some point in our life, we feel that too. And it is completely normal. What is important is that we get up and then go for the day. And as of now that we are talking about education and as a student, it is really so hard, especially with the ongoing online classes. And sometimes when we deal with our friends, our teachers virtually, it is so hard because we're so used that we are dealing with them in a physical environment, and that somehow makes learning bearable. But now as we deal with them virtually, it is so hard. And I know that a lot can think about a lot of reasons as to why we should hate online classes, especially when the internet connection is not cooperating. I am seriously not up for it. Like, hello, please naman, ang bagal. But actually, guys, there are a lot of reasons as to why we should be thankful of online classes. Because there are pros, and somehow these pros are helping us as a student as we learn in our day-to-day lives. So what really are the pros of online classes? So as I have experienced the day-to-day problems of online classes, I have thought about one positive, which is that Online classes brings out the creative in us. It brought us the creative side because when we are faced with down the drain situations, we get to be creative, and somehow learning through this pandemic has redirected our thoughts. It has redirected us to learning, which is somewhat better, right? So that is one pro that I can think of. Second is that it let us now learn more independently, which is really good at such a young age. We are now trained. We are being trained to learn independently. And also having that self-paced learning wherein we learn in a way that suits us or in a process that suits us. So it helps us a lot as a student. So the next one is that we now have the flexibility to juggle everything up, especially when we have different commitments like joining an organization or a committee. It helps us to be able to attend those and at the same time join our classes virtually. So this realizations has helped us to appreciate online classes more, but somehow it is still difficult. It is still tough when we face this situation. So I actually have 3 tips for you guys. So the first one is to always have a calendar or a to-do list, because it helps you get track of everything, like literally everything, and then it helps you make use of your time more, and it has helped me a lot too. Second is having an alarm paired with your calendar or your go-to list, because somehow it is really tiring to keep on checking our go-to list on what are the next things to do. But an alarm sounds off whether you like it or not as soon as you have scheduled it. So it is really helpful when you pair those two. And then the third one is nothing is better but to pair learning with a good set of mind and a good set of attitude. Because no matter how complete your resources are, if you do not have that will to learn, then you would be so lost. But if you have that will to learn, then everything will eventually come good, will flow naturally. So yay, now we're back to the magic look. So I call it magic look because it is from that frizzy giant hair you wake up in the morning to that sleek hair, which says some magic in there. Starting with the aura, your goal must be a no makeup look, which prevents you from looking so tired but makes you look fresh and ready to face the challenges of the day. So queens, I always put on a moisturizer or a primer because somehow it makes us have that smoother skin and it makes the makeup last longer. So that is why I always put it on. And then I usually start with a lighter shade of concealer under my eyes, which are the proof of stress. So I put it under my eyes and then cover up some spots and also acne scars if you have any. And you can also start with a foundation before the concealer, but sometimes I skip the foundation part because when dealing with online classes, I don't want to feel that heaviness in your face when you put on foundation, so I kind of skip it. Then after applying the liquid products, I then put on some loose powder or compact powder on my face, especially in areas where it tends to get so oily. But if you have dry face, your face is somewhat dry, you could skip that part because powders makes your face even more dry. But then you could also put on a little bit if you don't want to skip that part. The next thing that I do, especially when I put on some tint in my cheeks and lips and lids, is that it comes from the same product with the same color, because I love it when your face looks more natural but somehow has an impact. So the color that I am most comfortable with is peach because it makes me look younger and also it matches my skin tone. So peach for my cheeks, lids, and then for my lips. So that's what I do in my online classes. So for my brows, what I usually do is that I use a brow pencil to fill in the gaps and to also darken it up and then to shape it naturally. And then the last part is the hair. What I really hate the most is that there is a curly hair and then there is a straight hair, but then I'm stuck in between. I'm in that messy, curly, wavy hair type. So it is really hard to maintain. That is why during online classes, I tie my hair. So when I tie my hair, it is looking much more classy and it looks much more clean. So that is what I do. So that were my tips on how to achieve that magic look. So again, from that giant frizzy hair to that slick looking hair and then a face that matches perfectly. So actually, I have one last tip. When you are using Zoom as your online meeting platform, there is actually a touch up my appearance option. So when you when you enable that, it actually provides a natural face filter to cover up some spots that you have or some acne scars. So it is really helpful. And sometimes I skip the makeup part and then proceed with that touch up my appearance option. So it is really helpful. So this is it, Queens. I hope you learned a thing or two. This is Francine Gamboa, and thank you so much for listening. Do the trainings online and you do it in actual court.
So first of all po, we all know that this is new for us, like in this virtual world or in this online training. Because in this online training it's really different. Because we all know in the sports basketball, like we use the courts, we have this equipments, and in this virtual world, we only have limited space to use, or like we're just in our homes. And it's really limited. But for us, we really to keep our bodies in shape and for us to keep healthy because we really have high hopes or like
Yeah.
we really expect that this may end soon already. So yeah. So
I'm
like
I'm expecting that too, that I hope this really ends because we really are struggling, especially as students, right?
yeah, from yours, I really love that point in which you said self-paced learning. We all know that in this online class, we are really on our own, diba? And as your beauty tips was really like wow, parang pang Miss Universe.
So as a male, what can you say about the beauty tips?
Well, as a female, like siguro, di ba, if you look good, you're more comfortable with it, di ba?
Yes, that's really.
And that's the thing that give them like the high self-esteem, di ba?
Mhm.
So like siguro, how about for guys? What tips can you give? Like for us, how do we look good? Ganyan, parang ganyan. Like what tips can you give?
So I can really compare it, right, in the boy side and in the female side, that actually the males look really good effortlessly. So more like the females are trying to put makeup, but then the males are doing it more natural and organic, which is really nice. But I guess one of the tips that I can say when you face in an online class virtually, so you could just wash up your face to freshen yourselves up. So I really do believe that natural is the right way, so without putting makeup on. So yes, go for natural.
Yeah, siguro for us really guys, one thing also that we really look good if di ba, our hair also really looks good.
Yeah, I
So
can
yeah, we need to
agree.
really fix it, ganyan. And also that on this online class, diba, it's really new for us. So like we're really on our own. So, 'di ba, we all know like from our space, from our experience, many nagto-turn off ng kanilang mga camera, ganyan. Like
Yeah.
siguro kawawa naman yung mga teacher ba na nagda-discuss parang alone lang. So, siguro one thing also that's the reason nga parang nahihiya sila na ipakita yung self nila ganyan, 'di ba? So like siguro what tips or siba ikaw ano ka? Like Miss Teen Philippines. As a Miss Teen Philippines, what tips can you give for those girls? Parang mas ma-inspired sila na mag-on cam para di naman siguro 'di ba ikaw kung ikaw yung nasa like if you're the teacher discussing parang you feel left out if ikaw lang yung nakikita mo. So like how would you inspire them or like as a beauty teen or as a teens, what can you say to them or what can you give or what tips can you give to them?
So I know a lot can relate, and I can relate to that. Sometimes I prefer to turn off my camera because sometimes we're so shy. But actually, turning on our cameras gives a lot of respect to the teachers because they are putting so much effort in doing our classes online. So I think that turning on our cameras is also a form of respect. And as students, you really want to give out
True.
respect, right? Because respect can be earned. So I think that one of the ways that you must remember or put in your mind in order for you to effortlessly turn on your camera is that you yourself must be proud of the beauty that you have within you and then the beauty that you're showing to the people's eyes. So you can just turn on your camera because I know that during physical classes, we're not that bothered on how we look, right? But then when on camera, we seem like, oh my gosh, my hair is so messy or something like that. But
True, true.
actually, turning on our cameras is a sign of respect for our teachers. So I guess it is really good to turn it on. And as I have watched your videos, Joss, I'm really
Yeah, yeah.
amazed that the pandemic has not stopped you from training with going on your passion with basketball. You're into
Yes, yes.
basketball, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And so, what can you say to all the athletes out there who has stopped their trainings because of this pandemic that they have not been able to do their trainings because they prefer it doing in a real court or being together with their coach and their basketball mates. So what can you say to them to help uplift their self that they must still do their trainings despite this pandemic?
Well, siguro I would like to start that we all know that this pandemic was unexpected, di ba? So
Yeah,
like
truly.
it's like really unexpected and like us athletes we're really hoping and like it's really our happiness to like join games, play games, have practices, be with our teammates, ganyan, di ba? So like the only tip or like what can I say to my fellow athletes that we all know that this pandemic is unexpected for us, but like we should know how to realize and like we should like see the outside world like after of this like we should have high hopes. So like during now we should take this as an opportunity for us like to have this alternative ways for us to maintain our bodies healthy. We all
Mhm.
know that if we really want something, diba, we should really work for it or like find these ways because diba pag di mo gusto maraming rason ganyan
Yeah.
at pag gusto mo marami talagang paraan.
Mhm.
So like yeah, take this as an opportunity because you don't know like you're not better siguro di ka pa magaling noon but after this you can still have this you should take this as an opportunity like now we have this siguro limited spaces but we all know we have this different workouts, different routines, and with this we can still do this and knowing that with the high hopes we have like after this siguro like noon di ba tayo magaling but after this we can be more like improve or parang like masha-shock yung like our fellow athletes and
Yeah.
siguro if us being improved as an individual so we're not just in sports but also in our life and it can really give a big impact.
Mm.
Yes po,
So
ganyan.
I agree a lot now that you are also looking on the future, not just letting this pandemic prevent you from doing your trainings, but also looking to the future that after this pandemic, I am still
Yes,
in
yes.
my healthy, fit body, and I am still in the right kind of attitude towards my goal, which is basketball, right? One of your
Yes,
passions.
yes.
So, what do you think is your number one problem, especially in terms of your training nowadays?
Siguro as what I've said from the video or if you guys have watched the video, based from my experience, it's really mostly on the slow internet connection, di ba? It's like really the
Mm-mm.
most common one. Like siguro who doesn't have or like siguro mga mayayaman talaga. Yun, may mga lalakas talaga na internet. So like ano lang, yeah, slow internet connection and like as what I've said, our coaches have found a solution for it. Like also they give this programs or like routines or exercises before the practice time starts. So that if we can face this or this connectivity, it can be the reason for us to stop training. Ganyan.
So what is your normal day like? I know that you also have your online classes
Yeah.
and then you have your training. So how do you juggle everything up and still be able to balance it?
Yeah, so siguro in this new normal, di ba we have this online class of ours. And siguro for ours, for mine, our class starts at 8 and ends at 5 p.m. And no, ends at 2 p.m.
Mm,
So siguro, aside from that, di ba we have these activities to do, like asynchronous activities to do.
yeah.
So like our coaches gives us also time to rest. So our practice time usually starts in this new setup na, may class na po.
Mm-mm.
We start usually siguro 4 p.m. and we end at 5:30. Yes, that po.
Mm. Okay. So even though it's kind of bit short for the training time, it really helps, right? That not
Yeah,
stop,
yeah.
still continuing your trainings.
So, yeah. So I also have a question for you.
Mm.
Di ba, in this online world or in this online setup of ours, it also like, di ba, the gadgets we use or like the laptops, phones, or also these cameras we have, like, di ba also these cameras also affect the way we look,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I can really agree to that because sometimes we put so much effort into looking so
Yeah,
good in
yeah.
front of the mirror, but when we look at a screen, we look totally different compared to the mirror. That's why I really suggest that we have the appropriate or the right list of products to use that is specifically good for us as students as we are in this online classes, right, Josh?
Yes, yes, yes. Also that we have this, like, siguro, not that, like the prices of these products also, like, di ba, also like the product, the price of it matters also on its quality. So
Yes.
like, um, yeah, as what I've said, this quality of gadgets we use also affects the way we look. So guys, stay tuned for our next episode on list tips of highly recommended gadgets. So once again, I'm Josh,
And this is Francine.
and we
We
are the
are
Quaranteens.
quarantines. Thank you so